It is time for Around the 412 with Smitty and Tyler.
Welcome back to another episode of Around the 412. I am Tyler. With me, as always, is my co-host Smitty. Go follow us on all of our social medias at Around the 412. And if you're not watching there already, go subscribe to our YouTube channel, hit the notification bell so you never miss a video, and leave a like on our videos. Also, go follow us wherever you listen to the listening platforms as well, if that's how you prefer to listen to the show. And go give us a review on there. We love those. We love to get flattered by ourselves. You know, I don't know how to give an intro to this show because I was planning on looking up the exact date. I don't know the exact date, but we have not recorded a Pirates show in about 5 months. Maybe 5
I think
and
it
a
was
half.
even we didn't even end up doing like a recap of the season one.
No, we didn't. It was like mid-September was our last show. So we are over 5 months from our last Pirates show. So welcome, Pirates episode, to 2025. Good to see you.
Yeah.
Not really.
You know what? Oh my. Okay, so the last one, the title, will Derek Shelton be fired? That's the name of it. And
Well,
it was
the answer
from
is no.
September 12th.
Oh yeah, so we're like 5.5 months since our last episode.
Yeah.
The answer is no. Derek Shelton was not fired.
That's a good.
Neither was Ben Sherrington.
Yeah,
and I could tell you that going along with not firing Derek Shelton, the Pirates offseason, they didn't really do much of anything. So it goes to show, like, if we thought they were going to do anything, we were wrong.
I think the argument could have been made going into this offseason that this was the most important offseason. When you have Paul Skenes, Jared Jones, and you're trying to build around that, Bryan Reynolds,
for sure,
Oneil Cruz, like there was the argument to be made. This was the most important offseason that we've seen in quite some time, and the big move. And I'm not trying to like talk down to this move because I actually really like it. It just happened within the last. If we would have recorded a Pirates podcast last week, this move wouldn't have happened. Andrew Heaney, but like, do they realize that you have to score runs? Like, if we were just talking about pitching wise, this is one of the best rotations in baseball. And they're probably like going to be 7-8 deep when you include the guys that they're going to get contributions from that aren't the major league level yet. You got Oviedo coming back this year too. If Bailey Falter is going to continue to pitch in the way that he did, I mean, Skenes, Jones, Keller, Heaney, Falter, Oviedo, like Bubba Chandler at some point can mix in with that. Thomas Harrington at some point. Their rotation is disgusting.
Mm-hmm.
But their big move in terms of what they've done offensively is Spencer Horwitz, who we're not going to see.
I was going to say, how do you pick which one is the biggest between Tommy Pham?
I don't know if it's him
Adam
or 37-year-old Tommy
Horwitz.
Pham. Yeah. I don't think Adam Frazier's with it. I think it's between 37-year-old Tommy Pham and Spencer Horwitz.
He can hit. Okay.
Well, yeah, we did get the memes back, so that's a win. I'm glad Adam Frazier's back because of that reason. But seriously, like, I don't know how you were given this thing on a silver platter, that thing being Paul Skenes, and the opportunities right there for the take, and it's not asking much. Like, they could have done very little this offseason, and it's still been much more than what they actually did. And even in terms of the move that they made, I think there's the argument to be made that Horwitz was an overpay with what they gave up. Like, I wonder what they could have gotten for that return somewhere else. And they also ended up trading, like, Cleveland, not only did they end up just flipping Spencer Horwitz, they ended up trading Josh Naylor in a separate move. Why didn't we just get Josh Naylor, the more proven commodity? Spencer Horwitz might be a good player. He's 27 years old. He has half a season of production in the majors. Like, and he's probably a platoon guy when you look at his splits. I'm very confused. And maybe I shouldn't be because it's the Pirates that we're talking about. But I'll be honest, they somehow did even less than what I expected this offseason. They somehow, what's the word? What's the opposite of exceeded? Seceded? No.
Seceded? What is it? South?
What's the opposite of exceeded? They did that. Whatever that is.
Underwhelmed you? Like,
yeah. Somehow, in 2025, is a 29-year-old about to be 30-year-old this year. I'm still underwhelmed by what the Pirates did in the offseason. That's how bad this offseason was.
Yeah, I can't imagine it being worse, if I'm being completely honest. I don't know what would have made it worse, because the highlight of your offseason, I guess, signings or transactions, whatever you want to call it, the highlights is just re-signing 38-year-old Andrew McCutchen. That is a highlight. A guy that doesn't field and is just a designated hitter at this point and is going to be 39 years old during the season. It's completely insane that you're going to have a top 5 rotation in baseball, probably, and you're going to have potentially at least what looks like the skeleton of a potential bottom 5 offense. They're expecting to win every single game 1-0, and they're hoping that it's just a solo shot from Oneil Cruz, because that's about the only offense that you are planning to get with this offseason. I just don't understand how the Pirates continue to surprise us as fans about how pathetic this franchise is. Your offensive moves are 37-year-old Tommy Pham, a washed up 33-year-old Adam Frazier, and a guy who you traded for in Spencer Horwitz, who, I mean, he's 27 years old, potentially has a future at first base for this team, but we don't know. Half season in the majors, there's no guarantees there. It just completely amazes me, like you're saying, that we're still at this point where the Pirates are able to just completely underwhelm us when it comes to what moves they are willing to make and how much money they're willing to spend. And don't worry, they were underneath last year's opening payroll by like $5 million, but they made up for it and caught up by signing Adam Frazier and Tommy Pham, just if you were wondering. So now,
and then Andrew Heaney,
they have and Andrew Heaney, but now we can't say that they're below payroll anymore. So we can't complain about that.
Apparently they were in on Quintana right before they signed Heaney, but they couldn't come to terms on the money. So that would have been super interesting if we got a Jose Quintana reunion. But yeah, I like Andrew Heaney. I think that that's their best move that they've made so far this offseason, which is probably saying more about the lack of moves than it is Andrew Heaney himself. But
yeah, for sure.
Man, I think they've really solidified what their rotation is going to be, and at least get you to the summer when hopefully you do see Bubba Chandler, maybe Thomas Harrington as well within there. And Bubba Chandler looks really good. Like his stuff, I think looks super electric. You got Jared Jones adding a new pitch. We'll see what Paul Skenes is being intrigued by seeing. Pitch. Yeah, every time that he steps on the mound, obviously there's going to be level intrigue. That really sucked that his game got rained out. The one game that we didn't get to see this week was Paul Skenes getting rained out. So look forward to him actually getting some action. And that's the other part of this too. Like, no matter if I know what I'm going to get from the Pirates in the regular season, this is normally the time of year where like I start to get excited. I've said this before, and it's going to be really bad that we're going to continue to do a Pirates podcast despite this. But like, I have such a lack of care for Pirates baseball in general right now, to the point where like I would never. I've gone back on this in the heat of the moment. I'm an emotional person. I said I hope that this team like doesn't renew in Pittsburgh, moves, they're losers. I don't want them associated.
My cousin Austin loves that, by the way. He brings it up all the time to me that you said that before.
But like, the reality is the fans deserve better. The players deserve better. The hatred is all really pointed at the owner, and I don't think the GM does as well as he could, even given the financial constraints that are put on him. But I don't truly feel that way. Like I'm going to root for this team to win baseball games. And what I was getting around to saying, by the way, this is normally the time of year where, despite knowing what's going to happen in the regular season, I still get excited. And I thought, like, especially with the pitching that we have, it would even be more so this year. Do you feel like the lack of off-season moves are almost contributing to like that not happening for you this year as opposed to other years? Or where are you at with it?
About getting excited for baseball?
Say again?
About getting excited for baseball?
Yeah, just in general. Like, do the lack of off-season moves have you any less excited than you normally are this time of year for baseball to start?
Yes. And basically for the reason of what you said to start the show, is that this was the offseason to add to your team with a bat. This was the offseason to do it because of how good your pitching potentially was going to be. But you didn't do that. And now, like I mentioned, you're looking at maybe even a top 5 pitching rotation in all of baseball, and you're backing it up with a bottom 10 offense. And I feel like bottom 10 might even be too nice. Like I said before, bottom 5 offense. It doesn't leave a lot to be desired. I'm going to watch the games, obviously, because I want to see outings from these starting pitchers, but I'm not watching it for the offense, and I'm not watching it expecting wins for these starting pitchers. I've said before earlier this offseason that, or not earlier, I guess it's earlier this month, but the offseason's over. We're in spring training now. I said that you're going to get into the middle of the summer. It's going to be like mid-July, and Paul Skenes' record is going to be like 4-3 in 20 starts.
With like a 2
and he's going to have a 1.2
yeah.
ERA. Like it's going to be stupid about how like obsolete his pitching is going to be because of the lack of offense. We're going to be behind him. So it does make me a little bit underwhelmed with the offseason and less excited about what's ahead. Like, obviously I'm curious to see what the team's going to look like. And that's not to say that I think that everybody is going to be awful, but I think overall, just when you look at this offensive production from this team, what hope do you get? Like, this team is really banking on a lot of things happening to fall in their direction in order for them to actually contend the season with the way it's constructed. Like, you were hoping that Oneil Cruz is able to make the transition to outfield fine, and that his bat is more consistent this year. You get more out of that. You're hoping that Bryan Reynolds has a bounce back year and you get more consistent hitting from him. You're hoping that Brian Hayes' back has no issues this year, and you're hoping that he's able to find some more consistency with his bat. You're hoping that Nick Gonzalez is able to continue on what he did in 2024. He's a bright spot. You're hoping that Joey Bart is able to replicate what he did last year. You're hoping that IKF is able to bring a lot. Like, there's a lot of things that have to fall this way offensively, where I just don't think that you're setting yourself up for success. They didn't improve throughout their lineup enough, and I don't care how good your starting pitching is going to be. It does not matter if you can't score runs.
Spencer Horwitz obviously is going to have to return the value for them once he does come back. But
yeah,
I think there's got to be some real concern there because of what the injury is, what he's even going to look like when he is able to come back. Like, not that he's ever really hit for power, but I would think that's going to be like completely sapped for at least this season. Like, we'll see what that even looks like going forward. But for me, yeah, you mentioned a lot of things there. You didn't mention the one though, but I got to play this ad before we come back. But I will say, if this player is able to come back this year, we didn't even see him like play basically at all last year, but if he is able to bounce back, it'd be a real game changer. What's going on, everybody? Smitty from Around the 412, and I just want to take a quick second to give a shout out to our folks at Game Changers. Their logo on the screen right now, right above my microphone. Over 2,000 different designs in their catalog. Luxury heavyweight material. I am wearing one of their shirts right now. Best vintage t-shirts in the game. Head over to gamechanger.la or pick6.la to pick up some shirts. And guess what? Use code AT412. Save yourself $10 on your order every single time. Again, gamechanger.la or pick6.la. Best vintage t-shirts in the game. Check them out. They had some designs over there for the Pirates. Roberto Clemente, Paul Skenes, Jared Jones, Andrew McCutchen, at least. You know what? Now that I'm thinking about it, they don't have a Bryan Reynolds, and they absolutely should. I'm not 100% sure about the Cruz either. I feel like those are two that they probably should. So might have to get on Game Changers about that. They listened. I got them to pull my hand at this point.
For some reason, I feel like there's a Pirates Barry Bonds shirt. Maybe
there is. I actually have it. It's double-sided, actually. It's double-sided. Okay. It's sick. Yeah. But anyway, the one name that you didn't mention there, and off to a hot spring, again, take it for what it is, Jack Suwinski. Talked about him at the beginning, probably this time last year, basically on this same episode when we got to spring training last year, and said how big of a year it was going to be. Kind of viewed him as like an X factor. You know, he's probably not going to hit for a high average. The defense is honestly, like, it seems like very polarizing, whether people think he's a good defender or bad defender, just in terms of like the amount of range that he covers, but also like the routes that he takes, like very up and down in terms of that and how he's viewed there. But obviously the power, like for a team that lacks power, I feel like they kind of need him to pan out this year. Like they need him to end up securing an outfield spot. I think best case scenario is he ends up being the everyday guy in one spot as opposed to Tommy Pham, because I think you know what Tommy Pham's going to give you, and it's probably going to continue to diminish as he gets older. He's now 37 years old. I think ideally you're looking at Oneil Cruz, Bryan Reynolds, and Jack Suwinski bouncing back this year as your outfield. I think that's what the Pirates would like to have happen, but they had to sign a player like Tommy Pham in the event that, Jack Suwinski looks the same as he did last year.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's true. Jack Suwinski is another one that I didn't even think about when I was thinking about the roster this year. Other guys to even think about too, like what the Pirates say they're not giving up hope with Henry Davis. Andy Rodriguez is coming off of his injury. What is he going to look like in 2025? Like there's too many questions for me to feel comfortable enough to say like I'm excited to watch the Pirates this year because of how poor I expect the offense to be.
And what about the bullpen? I mean, you need David Bednar to bounce back, obviously, from what he was last year. Colin Holderman had his stretches, but like I would say kind of trended in the wrong direction as the year went on. I don't know. Like I don't have the same faith in Ben Sherrington as I did with Neil Huntington, where it was like, no matter what the roster looked like, you felt like Neil Huntington could at least build a good bullpen. He could go out and find names like Rule 5 draft that would come in here and give us quality innings.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying that I would have brought back Aroldis Chapman. I actually think that was the right move not to not do so. But in that same token, we just talked about all the bounce backs that are needed offensively. David Bednar and Colin Holderman are right there within that as well.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the bullpen had the biggest shock factor for how poor they performed for the season stretch, especially because of our expectations going into the season. We thought that was going to be the strength of the
not
team.
even ours. Like MLB, I remember there was a post from like MLB's verified account that was like top 5 bullpens, and they had the Pirates like the number 3 bullpen going into the season.
Yeah. Disappointing season last year. One guy that they're going to get back at some point in a full capacity in 2025, you'd expect Dauri Moreta. He's someone that should bring some spark out of the bullpen. It was unfortunate that he had Tommy John just last spring training, but I would think that he comes back, maybe not full capacity to start the season, but at some point.
Probably in the summer.
They signed a couple guys this offseason out of the bullpen. Caleb Ferguson was one of them. Tim Mesa. They still have like Kyle Nicholas, Carmen Blazinski. I mean, they've got guys.
Baraki too. There was this weird thing where it was reported that Ryan Baraki signed with the Twins, and then like 2 minutes later, it was like, oh no, it was with the Pirates. I was like, what?
Just kidding. Yeah, I mean they've got some guys that can throw out of their bullpen, but it's similar to the offense. Like a lot of things need to fall the right way, and I just don't know how far this team is going to get with
talked about the depth
on both ends.
The depth that they have within the rotation. I don't know how many of those guys are going to be like will pitch well in the bullpen, but like you got to figure there's some guys that are going to miss out on a rotation spot that can provide some quality long relief at the very least. Like whether they can be serviceable late inning guys, I don't know. Like, do they have the mental makeup to do so? But if Johan Oviedo misses out on a rotation spot, if Bailey Falter misses out on a rotation spot, when you get Bubba Chandler up, if there's 2 of those guys that aren't in the rotation anymore, when Thomas Harrington comes up, maybe that's how you ease him in, is using him out of the bullpen. I don't know. So like they're going to have a lot of options. If they have a lot of pitching, whether those guys are going to work out serviceable as back end starters or in the bullpen, that is TBD. But I think that there's just so much there. And again, like it's just why this offseason was so frustrating, because you feel like it wouldn't have taken a ton of resources for them to be competitors, not in contention with like the Dodgers and these upper echelon teams within the NL, but like within the division, I think it could have been possible. Not for them to win it necessarily, but at least be competitive.
Yeah, and that's the disappointing part, I feel like, as a Pirates fan. And I don't think it takes that much. And the disappointing thing is you've got a payroll of 87, 88 million right now. The frustration from Pirates fans is not that they don't spend 200 million like the Dodgers. Like no Pirates fan is going to say that they should do that, or at least any reasonable Pirates fan is going to say that they should do that. But I don't know if this was their study or if somebody did it and they were taking it and talked about it on their show. So I'm going to shout out North Shore 9 and Jim Rosati for this knowledge that I'm going to say, but I don't know if it was his or if he took it from somebody else. So I'm sorry if it's yours. And I'm quoting for North Shore 9. If that's the case, then screw them.
We don't ever want to quit North Shore 9.
But they looked into the finances of the Pirates and their break-even point for what they could spend on a payroll as an organization just to break even is $146 million. And they are well below that. So I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility that they could, like, why can't you spend $100 million on payroll? Like, why do you have to be at 87, 88 before? They've done it before. And I know that they say, well, when you win, you're going to spend more. Like, well, you got to get to the point.
I mean,
if you spend more, you're going to win. You got to get to the point, especially with the rotation that you have. It makes no sense to me that why the Pirates can't spend between like 100 to 105 million on a payroll. If a team like the Cleveland is able to do something similar, and I feel like the markets are fairly
Kansas
similar.
City.
Kansas City, Tampa Bay for several seasons. It just doesn't make sense to me why the Pirates are stuck in purgatory when these other teams can spend a little bit more, and just because they spend that little bit more, you see the success that those teams that we just mentioned have had. And that's the annoying part about being a fan of this franchise, is because there's no hope in sight. Nothing is going to change, and it's the same stuff that we have dealt with for over a decade now, since they have last went to the postseason. The 10 years ago is the last season they went to the postseason.
2025, yeah. You know why? It's because in terms of owners, Bob Nutting does not cut it. Smitty from around the 412 here, and while I may not have much hair, the hair that I do have will not be cut by anybody besides Keek at Keek's Barbershop. My friend Christian Circle, been with us since day one. Keek's Barbershop, located 401 Burkitch Way, Suite 2 in Beaver, PA. Download the app The Cut, book an appointment with Christian today, or you can do walk-in with Tony or Ashley. But again, Keek's Barbershop, 401 Burkitch Way, Suite 2 in Beaver, PA. Go check them out. Old school vibe in there. Absolutely love it. Cannot recommend them enough. Wouldn't go anywhere else. Maybe I'll see you there. So, yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of in that same boat with you, though, where, like, this just feels a little bit different to me. Like, I'm not as excited as I normally am at this point in the season. Like, getting excited for spring training. Season's going to be starting. I've actually said, and I don't know if I'll hold true to this. I'm typically pretty stubborn, so I think I will. But I said I'm not buying any Pirates tickets this year. I'll go to
the only
games.
way you'll go is if somebody already bought the tickets.
Yeah, well, I also have a ticket connection. So, like,
okay.
Yeah. So, another, like that,
another podcast, another subtle flex from Smitty. Fine. I'm surprised he didn't mention that he just bought a house and then he's a Steelers season ticket holder already in the show.
I might be in a suite at some point. You know, a couple games here, there.
Yeah.
Pirate games, but. It is what it is. It's just life. It's just life. But yeah, so like I've said that out loud. I've said it on here now. So, and I'm typically pretty stubborn. So I think I'll be able to hold to it. But we'll see. There's like they're having a WWE night though.
So you're just like 8 or 9 years too late on the whole, like basically like boycotting the Pirates.
See, but like I know them to be watching. Like I just don't want to spend money to go to a game.
Well, that's what I mean. Like, you're not going to give the team money.
Like, but I am by watching them too. Like the people that say that, like if you're paying for a cable package or streaming, like they're getting your money even through that. So like,
sure.
I'm going to probably buy merchandise. So I don't know that it's so much
because you buy Game Changer stuff now.
That's true. That's
you just go to AT412.
For me, it's more so. It almost feels like a waste of time. You're committing an entire night to going to watch a baseball game. And I just have no desire to do that with the product they're putting on the field. Between parking, heading to the stadium, the traffic on the way back, the game itself, obviously. Like there's just so much time that goes into watching it, a 2.5-3 hour event that makes it an entire night. And I just have no
Mhm.
desire to commit to that with the product they're putting out.
I can't blame you.
And that's where I sit right now. But there is a WWE night somewhere in May, which is going to be pretty sick. And
Maybe Paul Skenes will pitch in that game.
yeah, that's going to be tough. If he does, it's going to be tough to not go. So somebody's had to pull through for me. But anyway, yeah, be sure to like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. If you were here on YouTube, or if you're listening somewhere else, come on over to YouTube to do that exact same thing. Hit us in the comments with your thoughts on the Pirates as we go through spring training here. If you want to throw out some preseason or season predictions, whatever, we will do that on a relatively soon episode, I'm assuming, of the Pirates show here. We'll give some predictions for what we think. And we know that those always go so well for us when it comes to the Pirates, as evidenced by Jack Suwinski's 35-plus homer season that I predicted. So yeah, we'll go through that in the very near future. If you're listening somewhere else, be sure to leave a 5-star review, subscribe over there, Apple, Spotify, wherever your podcast from. To find us there, just search Around the 412. Regardless, whether you're watching or listening, be sure to check out the links in the description of the show. Mention Game Changers a lot of free pub for Game Changers on this one. You got way more than one ad with what you're paying for. So gamechanger.la, pick6.la, use code AT412 at checkout. You'll save $10 on your order over there. Everything custom designs. Our friend Haley Wagner, small business. You can get some of our merch, some custom merch for yourself. Easter just around the corner, so get some Easter stuff. You want some of our shorts, DC4L Customs down below as well. Black, gray, white, whatever color you want. You can get those down at that link below. And then our friend Marcelo Electric Boots, Brandon Marcelo, small business. The logo above Tyler right now, if you were watching on YouTube. Beaver, Allegheny, Lawrence, Butler County, service calls, commercial, residential, whatever you need. Contact him, 724-614-0611. Again, 724-614-0611. Link to his Facebook page down below. Phone number there. Email there, get in touch with him, whatever you need. Also a ton of pictures of his work. He's always posting projects that he's working on and work that he's done for other people to give you an idea of the work that he can do. So be sure to check him out over there. Again, like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, follow us on everything at Around the 412. I'm back on TikTok, so I'm gonna start posting our content again over on our page. So stay on the lookout for that as well. For Tyler, for Smitty, this has been the Around the 412 Pirates show. Yes, we put out a Pirates show. We'll see you next week for another one of these. Till then. Bye-bye.